Thank you. I'm going to start with just a little personal introduction here so that you understand why I actually picked Florence Ray Kennedy. I recently experienced a privilege walk, which provided me even more soul searching. One of the things I now understand is my extreme privilege and the opportunity to attend Smith College, which is still one of the only all women's colleges in the country. I applied early decision once that I learned that both Gloria Steinem and Betty Friedan went there. That really was one of my key motivating factors. I had a charter subscription to Ms. Magazine and was a diehard 17-year-old feminist. I've always worshiped Gloria Steinem from afar, but I've also seen her in person whenever possible. I most recently took my daughter to see the show Gloria, A Life in New York. The show ends with a talking circle, which was a way of organizing and including women in the journey for equality and equity. Gloria learned about this important technique and approach from a woman she calls her most significant influencer, Florence Kennedy. We are, in fact, using the talking circle as a way to study the conversation together in our DEI and leadership combination efforts. So next slide, please. If this looks familiar and you're a Facebook friend of mine, you've seen me post this from time to time because I love this picture. It's a picture of Gloria and Dorothy Pitman Hughes. The recent film, The Glorias, features several leaders of color who not only shaped Steinem's activism, but also left a lasting impact on feminism and real world policies through their work in creating an intersectional movement. They are Dorothy Pitman Hughes, who is shown here with Gloria, who was a grassroots organizer for daycare and welfare rights. Dolores Huerta, who was an organizer with the National Farm Workers Union. Flo Kennedy, who we're going to talk about, who's a lawyer and an activist, and Wilma Mankiller, who fought for Indigenous rights and gender equality, along with, of course, Shirley Chisholm, Congresswoman and presidential nominee. At this point, I want to, let's see, do I want to do this? Flo Kennedy was featured in the film, The Glorias. I don't know if anyone else has seen it, but it chronicles Gloria's life based on her book, My Life on the Road. And I just want to do this little introduction by Lorraine Toussaint, who plays Florence in that movie. So let's just do the little video. It's in the PowerPoint. No luck?
Julie Taymor called me on the phone and said, I'm doing a biopic on Gloria Steinem, and I want you to play Flo. And she said it in a way as if I should know who Flo was. That began my journey into the discovery of the iconic Flo Kennedy. She is Flo Kennedy. I'm Lorraine Toussaint, actress, writer, producer, mother. Flo Kennedy was one of the pillars of the feminist, the second wave of the feminist movement. Her parents raised her to believe that she could do absolutely anything. She talked herself into law school, into Columbia. She applied and was denied, and was clearly denied because she was a woman and she was black. She was expected to just tuck her tail and walk away with that. She then took a meeting with the president of the university and said, I am going to sue you And literally within a day, they reversed the decision and sent her a letter saying, "Welcome to law school." She just would not take no for an answer. But it also meant that she paid the price for that. She was put in jail and beaten so badly. So she, for the rest of her life, has a fused spine as a result of that. That was the birth of Flo becoming an activist. She became um, an advocate for women. She became an advocate for civil rights. She was a member of the Black Panther Party. As we moved into the late 60s and 70s, she was very clear that racism and sexism were intertwined and you couldn't remove one without the other. She was so ahead of her time. She believed that prostitution should be legalized for women. She believed that her job was to provoke folks in every single possible way that she could. And she did it in her dress. The cowboy hats are her signature hat with the cowboy boots and all of the pins, the buttons, the jewelry. She always wore a gold whistle because she was going to blow the whistle on the man. She had the nails that were very long nails, which she used. Her hands are like birds. They flutter as she speaks. They're just always fluttering. I realized that she did that because she didn't have very much mobility in her neck from that fused spine and didn't have much movement. I know a little bit about being a fierce black woman, um, breaking through ceilings and not taking no for an answer. When I got a look at who this woman was, it felt like I had the honor of actually trying to crawl in her skin and walk in her shoes for a, for a moment in this film. It was humbling and fun because she is so outrageous.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you, Mysum. Flo Kennedy made the essential connection between Black power and feminist movements. After becoming one of the first Black women to graduate from Columbia, as you heard, in 1951, Kennedy opened her own law firm. In the years that followed, she represented Billie Holiday, Charlie Parker, and a group of Black Panthers. In 1966, she created the Media Workshop, which fought racism from the advertising point of view. Kennedy eventually pivoted toward political activism and became a staunch advocate for civil rights issues. In '69, she began efforts to challenge New York State's abortion law, which led to the state liberalizing abortion and the following year. Kennedy incorporated into her work a deep understanding of how racism impacts every facet of society, a founding principle that she brought with her to the women's movement. In '71, she helped found the Feminist Party, which went on to nominate Congresswoman Shirley Chisholm for president. Sherry Randolph, an associate professor of history at the Georgia Institute of Technology and the author of a great book called Florence Flo Kennedy, The Life of a Black Feminist Radical, spoke to Time magazine about Kennedy's central role in the movement during the '70s. In Flo's mind, there was a Black power movement that Black people should be involved in, and that should be intersectional, she says. The women's movement needed to do a better job of being anti-racist, and Gloria Steinem listened to Flo in that regard. Though she was at the center of the women's movement, Kennedy hasn't been widely recognized for her work. Thankfully, we're now living in a different moment where you have to acknowledge Black women a little bit more and their influence on the predominantly white feminism movement at the time. They weren't just an antagonistic force, they were a force propelling questions, and that's what helps Flo emanate. There's another slide. So, in her book, Flo tells her own life story for the first time. That's her book on the left. She's raised in Kansas City in the mid-20s. She was one of 5 sisters, a daughter of a father who stood off the Ku Klux Klan with a shotgun, and a mother who told them to always hold out for the best. As an accomplished attorney, she was a delegate to the Black Power conferences, then took up the battle against sexism and racism by founding the Media Workshop, the Feminist Party, and the Coalition Against Racism and Sexism. She was a member of the legal team that was instrumental, I think I already said this, in abortion laws, and was co-author of Abortion Rap. She has mastered guerrilla warfare tactics on the picket line and in the streets and in the C-suites of New York. Her verbal karate has provoked and entertained TV audiences nationally, and this book is a credit to her. There's one more slide of some quotes of hers that you may or may not have heard. And I think just a fabulous photo of her that epitomizes her. I approve of anyone wearing what the establishment says you must not wear. Don't agonize, organize. And this one you've probably heard, and I hope I'm not offending anyone, but there are very few jobs actually that require a penis or a vagina. All other jobs should be open to everybody. So that's what I've got for Flo Kennedy. Wondering if people had ever heard of her or any questions.
Do we have the book that you just showed us, I wonder?
I don't know. I didn't
I can
look.
look it up.
We used to own it, but I don't know if it's still in the collection.
I ordered one from eBay, and I'd happily order another for the library.
Thanks, Bob. That was good. Bringing another person to, to light for us to know about.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, it was clear that she was not recognized for her contributions, but the more I read and the more there are a lot of videos out there about her. I just tried to condense it. And she's just a wild woman who just didn't say no or take no for an answer.
We don't have the book. I just did a double check.
Uh-oh.
That book was kind of, I think it's a bit, was it published in the 70s, 80s?
It's very old, yes.
It's a
Right.
very old book. I remember
Yeah.
we used to have it in the collection, but yeah, it's probably out of print.
You know, she's given you the bird on the cover.
Right.
Just wild. So yeah, if anyone wants any of these videos, I can certainly send you a link.
We can put it on the blog. If you, so,
Okay, I'll send them to you.
okay.
Great.
And I was just going to say, and I mentioned the blog, you can find it off the staff pages. It's the staff blog. So it's not published for the public, but anyone should be able to find it. If you have difficulties, just let me know, let Mason know, and we can get you there.
Great. Well, thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Barbara.
Thank you.
Very
Great.
informative. Thank you.
Thank you. Melanie,
Thank you,
who's tomorrow?
Tomorrow is a staff meeting that starts at 9 o'clock, and then Cheryl is going to do the presentation.
All right.
Well, actually, somebody from the business office is going to do something from the presentation. They don't know it yet, but they will.
All right. So see everybody at the
Right.
staff meeting tomorrow.
Very
Okay,
good.
Thank you.
All right.